Namaste and welcome, dear friends, to the 8th class of the Bhagavad Gita. Let us begin our class with a prayer. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, Beloved God, Bhagwan Krishna, Jesus Christ, Mahavatar Babaji, Lahiri Mahashay, Swami Shri Yukteswar Ji, Beloved Gurudev Paramhansa Yogananda Ji, Saints and sages of all religions, humbly we bow at thy feet. Beloved Lord, help me to know that within my soul I possess thy unconquerable, unchangeable, ever new bliss, so that disaster cannot touch me and grim death, disease, or failure do not daunt me. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Wishing everyone a very happy Babaji commemoration day, Babaji Smriti Divas. And this is the day when Babaji appeared to Master after Master meditated for hours together and he felt that his head would then split. In that final moment, Babaji appeared to Paramhansa Yogananda to guide him and to send him to the United States to spread the teachings of Kriya Yoga. So happy Babaji Day to everybody. We shall now invoke the presence of the Gurus by singing the hymn to Brahma, followed by a chant. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyadilakshayam Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Triguna-rahitam Sadgurum Tvam Namami Tvameva Mata cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu cha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Let's take a couple of moments to bring ourselves to this moment, to raise the energy in the astral spine, to concentrate our attention at the spiritual eye, and to open our heart that we may receive the light of the teachings of the Gita. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So, my dear friends, in the last class, we studied who killed whom. So, in the battlefield, on which day, which Kaurava warrior was killed by which Pandava warrior. And we saw how the virtues in us can give a battle to these vices and these can be killed. In addition to what we studied last time, there are a couple of points that I would like to add to that. And I picked up these points from the talks of the spiritual renewal weekend that happened at Ananda Village recently. And these 2 points are, the first being that when Krishna goes to the Kauravas before the war began to ask for 5 villages for the Pandava brothers, and he said that then the war wouldn't happen. But Duryodhan said that he will not give even a pinpoint of land to the Pandavas. And why is this that he was not willing to give one pinpoint of land? We know that if the room is dark or a cave is dark, all we need to do is to light a match. So just by introducing one small light, the darkness of ages can be dispelled immediately. And therefore, Duryodhana knows this truth, that if he allows the Pandava to have some access on his land, then slowly their power is going to grow, and then he will be terminated and he will be expelled. So he knows this fact, and he does not therefore want to allow even a pinpoint of light into his kingdom. And so here is a warning for us that when the power of desire and attachment is so strong, then our mind will make us believe that we do not need any meditative practice, that we are good in whichever position we are, and that's it. But that is the time exactly where we need to meditate and bring in the light, because even a little bit of light will banish the darkness of ages. And that little bit of light, then we are going to work with Krishna to expand that light so that the entire kingdom of our body and mind is filled with that light. The second point I wanted to discuss here is that we said that Jayadratha was killed on day 14 by Arjuna. And Jayadratha, we know he represents body-bound inclinations, means our tenacity to be in the body. Although we are infinite, formless spirit or atman, but we are so strongly thinking that this bodily existence is the only existence. So that is body inclination. So how is Jayadratha killed by Arjuna? Now, if we remember the story of the Mahabharata, this is the day 14th is the day where Arjuna says that if I'm unable to kill Jayadratha by the end of this day, then I will jump into the pyre, means I will self-immolate myself and I will kill myself. So Krishna hears this out. Krishna knows it is going to be difficult, but yet this is Arjuna's vow for day 14. And Jayadratha, being body-bound inclination, we know through a formation made by Dronacharya, he is protected by Dronacharya, Ashwathama, Karna, Vikarna, Duryodhana, Dushasana, all the people of the Kaurava army, most important people, are protecting Jayadratha because he is the body-bound tenacity. Because if we kill our body-bound inclinations, then it is easy for us to kill the rest of the warriors, because once we start to realize we are not the body, and then it becomes easy to kill the rest of the vices. So now on this day, what happens is the sun is about to set, and Arjuna has still not been able to kill Jayadratha. And therefore, Krishna needs to work a miracle. And we all know how Krishna creates the effect of the dusk happening, of the sun setting. And once the Kaurava army feels that the sun has set, they start to rejoice, they become relaxed in their stance, and they think they have won. And at that point, Krishna asks Arjuna to shoot his arrow on Jayadratha. And that's how actually, and at that same point, the dusk is removed and the sun is seen again. So Krishna has to work a miracle to help Arjuna to kill Jayadratha, or the body-bound inclination. So what does this mean? This means that there are going to be certain battles in our life, even with the best of our effort, with the best of our yearning, and the best of self-control that we work it, and we want to kill the body-bound inclination, yet the enemy is so powerful that by our own self-effort, it may be insufficient for us to kill him. And therefore, Krishna works a miracle for each one of us. So all of us as spirit are bound to the body, but Krishna, his grace, the Guru, his grace, can help us to fight this battle and to win it. And therefore, we must never think that we are alone in this battle. The first thing is that the entire battle is created by Krishna. All the actors are in this battle are Krishna himself. And he is personally present as our charioteer in this battle of daily life. And he is going to help when he knows that the devotee's effort may be insufficient, then he will come in with his grace. He will perform a personal miracle, which may be different for each one of us, and he will help us to win the battle. But all we have to do is to become the Arjuna, means become that self-controlled person, become the Gudakesha, means the one who has conquered sleep and determined to be free. Once we have done that, once we have called upon Krishna to be our charioteer, and we are doing our part, then of course Krishna or the Guru, they come into our life and they do their part, which is a very, very important role that they play, the most important rather. The other thing that we studied last time, and we'll go into continuation of that, is that once the meditating devotee is able to quieten himself to a particular point where his breath is getting calmer and his thoughts are becoming lesser, at this point, the body identification or the ego will suddenly, want to create body consciousness. And therefore, it is said that Bhishma, he resounds his conch and like the roar of a lion. And then Master explains that how in the quietening devotee, suddenly the breath will make its appearance as a loud sound, and it will draw the devotee's mind, his attention to body consciousness. And once the Bhishma's conch plays, then also other Kauravas will also play their conches or play their sounds. And that means the sounds of the nadis, the sounds of the other elements that are there, and the sounds of this surrounding atmosphere that suddenly start to hit the senses, and the nerves that get activated. So all those sounds are playing there. And then Yogananda ji says, if you want to become victorious, there are certain prerequisites that you want to develop. And he gave 6 points. We said that if you are a very, very intense seeker, means you have thought that, no, I am going to win this battle of life, I am going to attain self-realization, then there are certain things that you have to do. And number one of them is to discipline your body, is to make your body healthy enough that it can sit steady in meditation for a long time. The second, he says that you have to control the involuntary movements of the body by practicing conscious self-control. The third, he says, is that you must learn to quieten your breath by using pranayam. The fourth is that you need to concentrate your mind to a single pointed focus so that the restlessness of the mind is conquered. The fifth, he says, is you must control your vital sense by practice of self-control or control of sexuality. And the sixth point he says is that you must always keep the company of good and noble souls. And once you are able to accomplish all of this, then the battle becomes easier for you, and it guarantees kind of that the victory will be yours sooner rather than later. Okay, so now we move on to the next verses, and these are verses 15 to 18. They have been handled together by Yogananda ji. And as always, I shall be reading in Sanskrit, then Hindi, and then English. Verse number 15. Panchajanyam Hrishikesho Devadattam Dhananjaya Pondradhadhamo Mahashankham Bhima Karma Vrikodara. ऋषिकेश श्री कृष्ण ने अपना पांचजन्य शंख, धनंजय अर्जुन ने अपना देवदत्त शंख तथा बड़े बड़े विकट कार्य करने वाले वृकोदर भीम ने अपने महान पौंद्र शंख का नाद किया. Rishikesh Krishna blew his Panchajanya, Dhananjay Arjuna his Devadatta, and Vrikodara Bhim of terrible deeds blew his great conch Pondra. Verse number 16. Ananta Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishtara Nakula Sahadevascha Sughosha Mani Pushpako. कुंती पुत्र राजा युधिष्ठिर ने अनंत विजय और नकुल और सहदेव ने बारी बारी से सुघोष और मणिपुष्पक नामक शंख का नाद किया. King Yudhishthir, the son of Kunti, blew his Anantajanya. Nakula and Sahadev blew respectively their Sughosha and Mani Pushpaka. Verse or shlok number 17. Kashyascha parmo shvasa shikhandi cha maharatha drishtadumno viratascha satyakischa parajita. कुशल धनुर्धर काशीराज महारथी शिखंडी धृष्टद्युम्न विराट अपराजय सात्विक. The king of Kashi, excellent archer, Shikhandi, the great warrior, Drishtadumna Virata, and the invincible Satyaki. Shlok number 18. Drupado Draupadeyascha Sarvasha Prithvi Vipate Saubhadrascha Mahabahu Shankadumna Prithak Prithak. हे राजन, द्रुपद, द्रौपदी के पुत्र तथा विशाल भुजाओं वाले सुभद्रा पुत्र अभिमन्यु, इन सभी ने अपने अपने शंख का नाद किया. Drupad, the sons of Draupadi, and the mighty armed son of Sukadeva, all blew their own conches, O Lord of the earth. So what does this mean? So basically this means that not only is the breath causing certain sounds as the devotee is meditating, but because the devotee has gone a little into his depth of his own astral being, so he can also hear simultaneously the sounds of the various chakras and of course the sound that the Krishna is making. So what are the sounds of the chakras? We have, most of us who have done our Raja Yoga and we have been practicing meditation, we know that the Mooladhara chakra, which represents Sahadev, it makes the sound of a bumblebee or a large machinery in continuous action. Then the next chakra, which is Swadhisthana and which represents the Pandava brother Nakula, that makes the sound of the flute or the sound of the sound of crickets as is heard in the evening or night. The third is the Manipur chakra, which represents the brother Arjuna, and the sound of that is that of a stringed instrument, means like that of a veena or a sitar or a harp. Then the sound of the fourth chakra, the Anahat chakra, which represents Bhim, is that of a temple bell or a gong or a conch. And then the sound of the Vishuddha, which represents Yudhishthir, is that of the wind blowing through the trees. And then the sound of the Agya chakra, and we know Krishna resides here at the spiritual eye, is the sound of Om. And the sound of Om is like either the sound of the rumbling thunder, or it is the sound of the roaring ocean, or when the waves hit the beach, or it is the sound of continuously flowing water. So any of these sounds can represent the Om sound, and the meditating devotee is able to hear these sounds if he's doing the Om technique or he's doing the higher kriyas. So Master has told us that Om meditation is a very important aspect of our meditative techniques because it takes us deeper into our own consciousness. It helps us to hear the inner sounds and to merge with the inner sounds and to know that the sounds inside of us and outside of us are in one continuity. And because the sound of Panchajanya means the sound of Krishna that Krishna makes is the sound of Om, we know that the Om is the substratum of all creation, and Krishna consciousness or Kutastha Chaitanya is the reflected consciousness, not the reflected consciousness, but the reflection of God the Father or reflection of Sat, which is reflecting into Om. So it is that intelligence, the Christ intelligence of Krishna consciousness. So that sound of Om is important to meditate upon because it can lead us into Om Samadhi. And having experienced Om Samadhi to whatever degree, we come to immediately realize our existence, which is more than the body, which is more than the breath, and which is more than the mind. So this is the importance of these shlokas. And this brings us to shloka number 19. Saghosho dhartarashtraṇam hridayani vyadarayat nabhascha prithvi chaiva tumulo vyununadayan. उस भयानक ध्वनि ने आकाश और पृथ्वी को गूंजते हुए धृतराष्ट्र के पक्ष वालों के हृदय विदीर्ण कर दिए. That tremendous sound reverberating throughout heaven and earth pierced the heart of the Dhritarashtra clan. So interesting words here are heaven and earth. So what is heaven in us and what is earth in us? And because these sounds are within us. So the earth represents the physical body and the heaven here represents the astral body. And these sounds that are made by the chakras, which are part of the astral body, they are so loud, they are so strong, and hearing these sounds, the Dhritarashtra clan or the Duryodhan clan is basically shaken. Okay, so this brings us to the next few shlokas, and these are again 4 in number, handled together as one, and we'll read them out. Shloka number 20. Atha vyavasthitan drishtva dhartarashtra kapidhvaja प्रवृते शस्त्र संपाते धनुरभ्य पांडवा. धृतराष्ट्र के वंशजों ने युद्ध के लिए तैयार देखकर कपिध्वजधारी अर्जुन ने अपना गांडीव धनुष उठाकर ऋषिकेश कृष्ण से कहा. Beholding the dynasty of Dhritarashtra ready to begin battle, Pandav Arjun, he whose flag bears the monkey emblem, lifted his bow and addressed Rishikesh Krishna. Verse 21 and 22 will be taken together. Rishikesham tada vakya midmaha mahipate senyoru bhayor mardhe ratham sthapaya medachut yavadeta niresheham yodhukamavasthitan kairmaya sah yodvyamsim smiran samyuddame. अर्जुन ने कहा, हे अच्युत, कृपया मेरे रथ को दोनों सेनाओं के बीच खड़ा करें, जिससे मैं युद्ध मोर्चे पर तैयार खड़े इन योद्धाओं को देख लूं. इस युद्ध के पूर्व मैं यह समझना चाहता हूं कि मुझे किससे युद्ध करना चाहिए. Arjuna said, O changeless Krishna, please place my chariot between the two armies, that I may regard those who stand ready in battle array. On the eve of this war, let me comprehend with whom I must fight. Shlok number 23. Yotsayan manaveksheham yate yatra samagata Dhartarashtrasya दुर्बुद्धे युधे प्रिय चिकीर्षव. कुरुक्षेत्र के इस मैदान पर मैं उन सभी को देखना चाहता हूं जो धृतराष्ट्र के दुष्ट पुत्र दुर्योधन की ओर से युद्ध करने की इच्छा से एकत्र हुए हैं. Here in this field of Kurukshetra, I wish to observe all those who have gathered with desire to fight on the side of Dhritarashtra's wicked son, Duryodhana. So these are very important verses, and we need to understand what is the meaning of these verses. Okay, so once the devotee starts to meditate and he starts to behold a quietness in himself, and that quietness, stillness is of course the presence of Krishna, then but the mind has not been conquered so far. So the devotee can observe, on the one hand, the devotee is trying to merge in the sounds of his own inner astral kingdom, the chakra sounds or the om sounds. But on the other hand, the mind is starting to create restless thoughts. So, and this, the devotee who is a sharp, alert yogi, is able to see the rising up of restless thoughts in his mind against his efforts to merge into the Om vibration. So now what does the devotee do then? So the devotee will actually become more alert and conscious and would like to raise his monkey emblem. So what does this mean? So monkey emblem is represented by Lord Hanuman, and Hanuman has the bhakti and the shakti and the single pointed concentration which can banish all other thoughts from the devotee's mind. So when Arjuna is raising the emblem of which has the monkey sign on it, which has Hanumanji on it, it actually means now the self-control is taking, a sharper interest, is more vigilant, and is not going to allow any restless thought to invade his territory of meditation. And then it is said that Arjuna picks up his bow, which is called Gandiva. And picking up the bow is literally the bow of our own spine. Once the devotee or the seeker or the one who wants to fight a righteous battle knows that, okay, this is the battle I am going to fight, decides that I am going to raise up my monkey emblem, means I'm going to be single pointed in focus. Then he also straightens up his spine, means he brings the chin parallel to the ground. He opens up his heart, he brings the shoulder blades back, and he pulls in his abdomen so that the spine is in the shape of a bow. And that is the Gandiv of Arjuna. Remember, each one of us is Arjuna. So when we are talking of Arjuna and Krishna, do not think of a battlefield which is external to yourself or which existed about 3000 years ago. Think of your body and mind, your chakras right now, right here. So the spine represents the bow, and as soon as the devotee is determined, the seeker is devotee he says, okay, I'm going to fight. Then he opens his heart, he straightens up his spine, he raises his concentration and is getting ready for battle. And this position of the spine, master says, is called the bow of meditation. So even now, as you all sit listening to this class, is your bow straightened? Is your spine as a yogi's spine must be? Is your heart open? So this does not mean that only when the difficulty will come, then I will straighten my spine and I will pull up my sleeves and say, okay, now I'm ready to fight. But the rest of the time I can just slump and slouch and say, oh, I'm feel too lazy. No, unless you prepare yourself all the time, unless the yogi is alert, awake, and ready all the time, how is he even going to see the enemy? Leave alone fighting the battle. So you might as well be very careful about your posture at all times. If you maintain a good posture, that will ensure that the energy flow inside, the prana flow inside is not only more than usual, but it is also harmoniously distributed in your body. And a harmonious flow of prana will definitely give you a healthier body and a efficient control of mind and efficiency in being able to concentrate and focus the mind. So thereby we must always be very cautious and careful about the posture that is being taken up by the spine. Okay, so now once the devotee's spine is straight, he is in the meditative pose, he is raising his monkey emblem, again focusing at the point between the eyebrows. Now he's inward. So a little bit of pratyahara is having at this time. He's inward, and his inward present Krishna, he is then talking intuitively, and he is saying that now I want to see who is my enemy and I want to see it clearly. Before I go into battle, I want to be very clear of as to with whom am I fighting. Now this position of Arjuna to Krishna, this is the position of a mature devotee. A person who is negligent in his spiritual life will not even care to see what is happening inside him. One of the niyamas is to introspect, is to do swadhyaya, is to study the self. Only a person who is serious on the spiritual path and knows the importance of looking inside and being able to clearly see the enemy will want to do this. So that it needs some amount of good karma, it needs some amount of spiritual maturity, and it needs a large amount of determination to win the battle of life, in the sense to attain self-realization, only then would you actually want to see your vices. Most people don't want to see their vices. Most people do not want to come to the present moment and face their own shortcomings in the mind. So suppose you are an emotional person, and suppose you are a person who clings to memories of the past and who clings to anxiety of the future. What do such people do? They don't want to face their own reality. They don't want to come to the awareness of this present moment. So they will keep watching TV. They will keep indulging themselves in some other activity, so that they don't have to face their own self in this moment. Now, this is very, very common. We do that so many times. We kind of push the dirt under the carpet, forgetting that someday it has to be faced. If it has to be faced, because eventually the battle has to be fought, then why not now? I must have the courage. If I anyway have to fight the battle and I wish to win the battle, that I might as well face my own shortcomings. But do not face your shortcomings with a judgmental attitude. Don't say, oh, you are such a bad person to yourself. Don't say that I'm such a bad person, therefore I should be ashamed of myself and I should be guilty of all those things. That is going to be self-defeating. But just acknowledging that, yes, I do have these certain weaknesses that I am going to work upon, I'm going to work with, and my Guru and Krishna they are going to help me to do this. And I already have certain techniques which can help me to overcome these obstacles. So coming in the center of the battlefield is a very, very mature attitude if we want to really fight this battle and fight it to victory. Therefore, do not shun to look within yourself. Therefore, the Gita begins that, in the first shloka itself, Master says, at every night before the day ends, you must introspect and see what attitudes you lived the day with, what actions you did, what thoughts you thought, what was your intention. Because unless you see clearly, how are you going to change your battling strategy the next day? When the next day arrives, the battle begins anew. So you have to be able to clearly see from a vantage point, and from there only can we fight the battle. Okay, so this is what it means. Okay. Also, Yogananda ji says that what does it truly mean to invite Krishna to fight from our side? What does it mean? So I will read Master's words so that I do not alter them. In fact, in today's class, I'm at multiple points, I'm going to be just quoting his words because they are so priceless, and I do not want to introduce any of my own personal thoughts in this. So Guruji says, the interpretation of this allegory is that when man's fiery self-control, Arjuna, is ready to battle all the forces of the senses, then the spirit, or Krishna, becomes the devotee's charioteer or guiding power. The spirit expresses itself through the instrumentality of the intuition of the soul, that is, the spirit's individualized reflection in man. So then, who is Krishna inside us? Your own inner voice is your own personal Krishna. Don't think that Krishna, suddenly of course, by visualization techniques, by meditation techniques, we can have darshan or vision of the phenomenon called Krishna at a spiritual eye or even otherwise in our life. But on a daily basis, who is your charioteer? Your own intuition is going to be your charioteer, because through that intuition, your own inner voice, which is the voice of your own higher self, which is the voice of Krishna present inside you, is going to speak to you. Have you quietened the restlessness of your mind enough to be able to hear it? Now, of course, the inner voice is not always a sound. It can be, in many cases, it can be actually a sound being spoken in your brain, in your head, in your mind. But sometimes it can be a vision, sometimes it can be an idea, sometimes it can be a written thought, sometimes it can be, just a light on a particular part of your life where you know that, okay, yes, this is what needs to be done. So it's not always going to be a loud sound. It can be sometimes the quietest of the sounds. But only if we are ready to hear it, then only we'll be able to perceive it. Because God is speaking to us all the time. Through our inner voice, he is speaking to us all the time, but most of the times we choose to ignore that voice. Either we are too restless, there's too much static in our mind that we cannot perceive it. Even when we perceive it, we think it may be a hallucination, and although sometimes it is the true inner voice, and it takes a lot of training to differentiate between the true inner voice and your own delusional hallucinations. But you have to train. Someday you have to train yourself. Why not start now? You have to practice, and the more you meditate, the more the point between the eyebrows, the Agya chakra is activated, and the more open your heart is, the stronger your intuitive faculty will be. And it's not that you should be using your intuitive faculty only when very harsh or difficult or magnanimous situations arise in your body. Swamiji said you have to train it on a daily basis. Learn to hear the inner voice even in the smallest things in your life. So continuously practice the presence of God. Continuously speak to the presence of God inside you in whatever little or big decisions that you take in life. And you will find that a point comes when you have calmed your mind enough that constantly you will hear the guiding inner voice. And that is your personal Krishna. Okay. So again, be clear that there is not going to be somebody outside of yourself. Whatever the warriors are, from God to the devotee and everybody in between, is all inside of you, inside of all of us. Okay. Now, interestingly, here Master points out that there are three points of the battlefield that is in the spine that are important, and these are the coccyx, the dorsal, and the medullary, or the Agya chakras. So the coccyx is the Mooladhara chakra, then the Anahat chakra is the heart center, and then the Christ center. So he said they are linked closely. So once you stimulate the Mooladhara chakra and the energy can rise into the Anahat chakra, then at this point Mooladhara is the negative pole and Anahat chakra is the positive pole, so the energy will rise towards the positive pole. But once you have sufficient energy at the Anahat chakra, then Anahat chakra becomes the negative pole and the Agya chakra becomes the positive pole. So from there on you can raise the energy to the spiritual eye, and that is why Master said chanting is half the battle. So from the coccyx to the Anahat chakra, if you have brought your energy, you have come halfway into the battle's victory. And chanting opens the heart, and Anahat chakra is the chakra which opens our heart. So therefore, listening to Swamiji's music, listening to Master's voice, listening to his chants, singing out those chants, playing those chants can actually help to raise the energy from the Mooladhara chakra to the Anahat chakra. And just by doing that, you would have anyway gained victory by 50%, which is a huge percentage, I would say. Okay. So this will bring us to the next two verses, which are verses 24 and 25. And again, these are handled together. Sanjay uvacha eva mukto rishikesho gudakeshena bharata senyorubhayor madhye sthapayitva rathotamam भीष्मद्रोण प्रमुखत सर्वेषां च महीक्षिताम् उवाच पार्थ पश्यतान् संवेतान् कुरुनिति। संजय ने धृतराष्ट्र से कहा, हे भरतवंशी, गुडकेश के निवेदन पर ऋषिकेश उस उत्तम रथ को दोनों सेनाओं के बीच में भीष्म, द्रोण और पृथ्वी के सब राजाओं के सामने ले गए और कहा, हे पार्थ, एकत्रित हुए इन कौरवों को देखो। Sanjay said to Dhritarashtra, O descendant of Bharata, requested thus by Kurukshetra Arjuna, Hrishikesh Krishna drove that best of the chariots to a point between the two armies, in front of Bhishma, Drona, and all the rulers of the earth, and then said, See Parth, Arjun, this gathering of all the Kurus. Okay. So interesting. Again, Okay. So Gudakesha means conqueror of sleep. So here the story is progressing that now that on the behest of Arjuna, Sri Krishna takes the chariot to the center point of the battlefield. So here when the devotee is seeking to know, then by an intuitive understanding, the devotee is shown in his mind how the different warriors of the opposing armies are placed and who actually has to be killed. So Krishna is saying to Arjuna, see clearly your enemies. Again, the same question arises, are we ready to see our own enemies in our mind, or we just want to shun and we want to say that, oh, we are comfortable with them right now. So, but Krishna is telling Arjuna to see clearly who the enemies are. So let us also prepare from today onwards to be able to see our own shortcomings, our own faults, but again without judgment, because eventually we want to kill them and we don't want to get all emotional about it, but the battle has to be fought. Okay. The devotee who uses his God-given intelligence to study sincerely the message of the Gita will find it a faithful travel companion that will not only guide and encourage him, but also caution and protect. So such is the beauty of the Bhagavad Gita, that not only here Krishna he is showing the enemies, so he is guiding, but he's also protecting and cautioning side by side. So if we were to with our heart and mind and soul completely were to study the Gita, just one verse every day, and with the complete understanding of that verse or shloka, then we would be moving onward on our journey to self-realization. Some light within us will shine and we'll just say to ourselves, aha, I do understand now. That light of understanding, once it lights again, let us remember, once there is light, darkness cannot remain. So once you have come to understand any shlok of the Bhagavad Gita, you will know that you can never forget it. Not only for this life, if you have clearly understood even one shloka, you will never forget that. And that light will keep shining within you. And as your understanding expands, you will find that the light within you is expanding and you are able to conquer your enemies. Okay. Verse number 26. And or the first line of 27th verse is also been treated together. Tatra pashyati satanam partha pritinat pitamahan acharyan matulyan bhatriputra pautrin sthita shvashuran suhridayascha सेनयोरुभयोरपि। पार्थ ने वहां दोनों सेनाओं के सदस्यों के रूप में स्थित दादाओं, पितामह गणों, पितृगणों, श्वसुरगणों, मातुल, भ्रात, पुत्र, पौत्र, सहिद्र, मित्र एवं आचार्य गणों को भी देखा। Parth beheld positioned there as members of both armies, grandfathers, fathers, fathers-in-law, uncles, brothers, cousins, sons and grandsons, and also comrades, friends and teachers. So the battle is getting very, very interesting now. So what does it mean that now Arjuna is now watching what all these enemies are? So Arjuna looks at the array with awe. For the members of both armies are his own dear relatives, that is, his own created good and bad habits. This is very, very important. The enemy has been created by the individualized soul, by the choices that soul has made over so many incarnations. Certain vices have become stronger in him, certain virtues have become stronger in him, and these are all his own relatives because he by choice at some given point in time made a relationship with them. He associated with certain desires, with certain temptations, formed certain habits by choice, and now these very warriors have become strong enough that they all are standing in the opposing army, threatening to take away his peace of mind. And where there is no peace of mind, happiness cannot exist. So if you want true happiness, you have to have a peaceful mind. To have a peaceful mind, all these enemies which have been created by our own past choices, they have to be killed. But because they have to be killed by yourself, and because you have kind of grown up with them, suddenly this disinclination to fight starts to happen. So suppose, for example, now you start to see you have been under the habit of smoking, and you start to see clearly that this smoking habit is my enemy and I want to kill it. Or this oversleep enemy, or this overeating enemy, or this restlessness habit is inside me. I can see it. I must kill it, but I have grown with it. How can I kill it? I think I'm okay living with it. I mean, it's okay if I continue to smoke. What's the harm? If I continue to oversleep, if I continue to overeat, I'm enjoying myself. I don't think I would really want to kill it. So that's see here, the confusion starts to happen in the devotee's mind. And this is where we are progressing now. In spite of a growing power of discrimination, behind the army of good habits, self-control still finds it hard and often distressing to destroy the dear old familial bad habits. So again, see, Shakuni has not been killed so far. So Shakuni will tell you a little more pleasure, a little more sexual desire, a little more eating habit, a little more indulgence in smoke and drink and drugs, a little more playing the money game, a little more playing the name and fame game. This time you're going to be happy. So even you thought initially that you're going to exercise self-control, and you saw that these are enemies. You wanted to initially kill them, but here the weakness in you starts to crop up, because you think it's okay. I mean, let them be. So what? Why do I need to kill them? They also belong to my kingdom only. So these deterrents start to appear in you. And then we come to the verse number 27, and Guruji has labeled it as Arjuna's refusal to fight. Okay. Shlok 27 and the first line of 28 are considered together. Tan samikshaya sa kaunteya sarvan bandhun avasthitan kripya parivavishto विषीदन्नीदम ब्रवीत। अपने सभी संबंधियों को युद्ध के मोर्चे पर अपने सामने तैनात देखकर कुंती पुत्र अर्जुन गहरी सहानुभूति से भर गया और शोक से आर्त होकर बोला। Beholding all those relatives arrayed before him, the son of Kunti became filled with deep sympathy and spoke dolefully. The devotee, following the path to meditation and wishing for complete emancipation, he realizes that he has to destroy his material attachments. So that realization has come, but because of his long familial relationship, his association, his attachment to those his own habits, his own tendencies, he starts to feel sympathetic towards them. Said, oh, why should I kill them? I can't kill them, and so on. The metaphysical reason, now this is a very important paragraph to hear by Master. He says, the metaphysical reason of self-control is nothing but a spiritual business proposition calculated to bring the greatest happiness to man. So the devotee forgoes indulgence in materialistic pleasure for the sake of gaining the pure joy of spirit found in meditation. So what Guruji is doing here is he's saying, why should there be self-control in the first place? So practicing self-control is like a business proposition, means That means if you practice self-control, then you will gain the victory of the kingdom of peace within you. So eventually the victory will be much larger than the bodily pleasure that you're having right now. And all the bodily pleasure is going to turn to pain. Therefore, it is such a good business transaction that you are letting go of tendencies and habit patterns that have been stealing your peace away. Instead of that, you are practicing some tapasya, some self-control, and then you will gain the highest treasures. So is it not a good business transaction? It is in the favor of the devotee. Now, this brings to mind the words of Bhaduri Mahashay, when somebody told him that, you have renounced the riches of the household and all of your parental property and so on for a life of meditation. He said, I'm not the renouncer. It is the worldly person who is the renouncer. He has renounced the universe for the petty, pennies of this world. So what are we renouncing? Is self-control going to be a bad idea? No, it is a good business proposition. Therefore, it is advisable that all of us devotees do practice self-control. Okay. And this brings us to the next two shlokas. So the second line of shloka 2 plus shlokas 29 and 30 are dealt with together. दृष्ट्वेमं स्वजनं कृष्ण युयुत्सुं संयुत्स्थितं सीदन्ति मम गात्राणि मुखं च परिशुष्यति वेपथुक्ष शरीरे मय रोमहर्षच्च जायते गाण्डीवं स्रंस्तते हस्तवात्वैश्च परिध्यते न च शक्योऽभ्यवस्थितातुं ब्रह्मतीव च मे मनः. And the first line of shloka 31, Nimmitani cha pashyami vipritani keshava. Arjun ne kaha. So we are saying this to Krishna or to ourselves. हे कृष्ण, युद्ध के लिए एकत्रित हुए अपने संबंधियों को देखकर मेरे अंग शिथिल हुए जा रहे हैं और मेरा मुख शुष्क हो गया है। मेरा शरीर कांप रहा है और रोम खड़े हो रहे हैं। पवित्र धनुष गांडीव मेरी पकड़ से छूट रहा है और मेरी त्वचा जल रही है। न ही मैं सीधे खड़ा हो पा रहा हूं, मेरा मन भ्रमित हो रहा है। हे केशव, मैं अपशकुन देख रहा हूं। O Krishna, seeing these my relatives met together, desirous of battle, my limbs are failing and my mouth is parched. My body trembles, my hair stands on end. The sacred bow Gandiva slips away from my grip, and my skin is afire. Neither can I remain standing upright. My mind is rambling, and O Keshav Krishna, I behold evil omens. So, what does this mean? Again, I will read Master's words. He says, the devotee says to his inner soul guide, because of love for my indwelling, clashing good and bad habits, I am reluctant to kill my kinsmen of the senses who have dwelt so long in my own bodily kingdom. My limbs of willpower to exercise self-control are failing me, and my mouth of spiritual intuition is dry. I am quivering with mental nervousness. My energies and thoughts shoot towards the senses. The sacred bow of self-control and of spinal perceptions is slipping away, and my mental skin, or the covering of my consciousness, is burning with restlessness. O soul, destroyer of evil, I cannot keep my mental balance. My mind wanders as I face the enemy's senses in meditation. I feel a premonition of impending disaster. Does this fear appear familiar to us? So now that we have seen our enemy, but it has been so close to us and we don't want to let go of it. So what if I sleep a little more? I have, as a aspiring soul yogi, I have decided I'm going to meditate early morning. But then in the morning, especially if it's a winter morning, I don't want to get out of my quilt, but the blanket feels so cozy. Maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, maybe another day, maybe another day. And such is our, fight with our own mind on a daily basis. So it may be a different problem area for each of us. For some, it may be sleep. For some, it may be food. For some, it may be some other passions. So all the passions, all the negative habit tendencies, they have taken such a strong hold in our own mental kingdom that we are reluctant to fight them off. And then, of course, if I'm reluctant, then my intuition, don't even want to listen to the voice of intuition. Whether I'm able to hear it or not is a different story. I shut it off consciously. I say, oh, no, 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 God, I don't want to hear you because you're going to tell me to do something and I don't want to come out of my comfort zone. I will not invest any more energy in this. So I shut out my soul intuition, then, and my flow of energy is going down. Therefore, the Gandiva drops. So Gandiva is, remember, it is the spine, your own posture. So suddenly you are slouching, you are down, your energy is down, you're looking down, and you are saying, I'm not going to do this. So this is the exact situation what the Gita is presenting towards us. So this is our own reality, and we must face this. With further progress, the devotee finds that the sense desires are die-hard inmates of his life. So at the first go, when you start to meditate and you are able to subdue certain enemies, but little do you know that they are staying in the subconscious mind till you unweed them completely. And you know they are still there. So after some time, they crop up again till you kill them. That is why killing is important. Not just subduing them or palliating them is not required. You have to eventually unweed your mind. You have to kill them. So the devotee begins to wonder, even in the midst of divine realization, if he has been wise in his decision to kill the material joys for the sake of gaining spiritual happiness. He feels a dreary loneliness and beholds a mental desert created by the renunciation of material joys. So I will end with a good advice from Master. So what should we do in this situation? When we are faced by this situation and we feel that we are unable to fight this battle, then Guruji says, in this pitiable state of momentary bleakness, the devotee must cast away all feelings of doubt and of despair and must have faith that after the field of consciousness has been well sown with the seeds of deep meditation, they will produce the mystic trees of omnipresence, bearing fruits of undying happiness. So what Master is saying here, march on. Sow the seeds of meditation. Give it daily water and sunshine with your prayers, with your meditative efforts, with your techniques of concentrations, with your Kriya Yoga, with your chanting, with your karma, with your bhakti, with all of that. Water the seeds that you have sown in your mind of meditative activity and have faith that soon they will become a tree, and in that tree you will get the fruit of happiness. So with that beautiful thought, we will end today's class and we will share the blessings, the power that we have received through these teachings with souls everywhere. Let us pray together. Divine Mother, beloved Krishna, thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all thy children. Manifest thy healing presence in all bodies, all minds, and all souls. Oh, oh, oh. Divine Mother, Babaji Krishna. May thy love shine forever on the sanctuary of our devotion, and may we be able to awaken thy love in all hearts. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.